Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, hi, my name is Carolyn, and this video is going to be my eyeshadow palette usage recap for the month of November. In this video, I'm going to be sharing with you the eyeshadow palettes that I used last month, the looks that I did with each palette, and I'm also going to be ranking them from least favorite to most favorite. So if that sounds interesting to you, then just keep on watching. So I'll start off by saying that I pulled way too many palettes last month. I pulled 18, and my goal is to use each of the palettes at least once, each of the palettes that I pull. But last month I got a couple new palettes when I get new palettes, I like to get to know my new palettes and use them a couple times, try to use each shade at least once. And so I ended up only using 12 palettes last month. I pulled a lot less palettes for the month of December because I am expecting a couple new palettes in from like Black Friday shopping and stuff like that, so I want to be able to use those and still use all of the palettes that I pulled, because it's kind of my way of making sure that I get use out of each of the palettes in my collection. So that's partly why I do the shop my stashes. So anyway, that's a lot of rambling. Let's just get started. I'm just gonna put the looks I did here. Okay, coming in at number 12 is my Anastasia Beverly Hills Riviera palette. This is because of the color story. The look I did, I just used this in the crease, this in the outer corner, and this on the lid. I may have used this as well. I don't really remember. But anyway, I did a really neutral look with this palette. But this palette, I'm trying to show it without a glare, but this palette stumps me. And I like the way all the shades individually are pretty, but then I look at it and I don't really know what to do with it. So this might be decluttered. I'm going to be doing a eyeshadow palette collection and a very small declutter at the beginning of next year, I think, and this might be in the declutter. I'm just not sure yet. I don't want to regret it later on, but I don't really know what to do with this. Let me know in the comments if you have this palette or had it at one time and what you think of it, if you have had issues with coming up with looks with this palette. My main concern is I just don't want to regret it if I declutter it, but I'm thinking I'm probably going to declutter it. Anyway, so this is number 12. Number 11 is the Juvia's Place the Nomad palette. This is just because this green and this green I have a hard time kind of blending out. So this is just like a formula thing. I struggle with Juvia's Place mattes. I had another palette, the Masquerade mini palette, and I decluttered that because I struggle with blending out the mattes from Juvia's Place. But a lot of people seem to really love the formula, so this is just a personal preference thing. The look I did with this palette, I recreated a look that my friend Ms. Moxie May did on Instagram, and it was a little bit ago, so I don't remember exactly what shades I used, but this was on the lid, and I used this in my crease, and I think this was the outer corner shade, and it was a really pretty look. I'll pop up both pictures, but my look and her look. This is a really pretty palette though. I love it for fall. It's perfect for fall. And I forgot to mention last month that I had recreated a look that my friend Hayleigh did on YouTube, and the look I did, I'll pop that look on the screen. She did a look using a different palette, but I recreated that same look, or a similar look, with this palette, and I did it was kind of like a candy corn vibes kind of look, and I used kind of a mixture of the yellow and the oranges, and it turned out really pretty. But yeah, I did forget to mention that the look I did with this palette last month was a look I recreated inspired by a look that Hayleigh did. So I will link that video of hers she used the Nomad Juvia's Blaze palette. I'll link that video below because I just forgot to mention it last time. But yeah, so anyway, this is number 11. Coming in at number 10 is the Estate Cosmetics and Bailey Sarian Venice Fling palette. I really like this palette. It's very versatile, and the formula on both the shimmers and the mattes are really good. This shade, the shimmer shade, is one of the prettiest in my collection. I feel like it always gives a really kind of wet looking shimmer. And the look I just did this in the crease, this on the lid, and this in the outer corner. I think I used this as a blush. You could use these two as blushes and this as a bronzer. I really enjoy this palette. So anyway, this is number 10. My number 9 and my number 8 are a tie, really. I did a video, I'm gonna show them at the same time, but I couldn't really place them. I placed Naked Honey as number 9 and C-3PO as number 8, only because they actually have a very similar color story. This is the Naked one, or the Naked Honey, and the C3. I actually did a video comparing the two, which I can link down below, but I felt like these were kind of dupes. I got this one for the packaging, and this is, I'm probably gonna declutter this one and keep this one because I got it for the packaging, and the formula on this is a little bit better on this one. This one is still a really good formula and offers a little bit more variety, so I couldn't really pick one over the other because they're both really good. They both have like a very similar, sorry, I'm holding this super awkward. You'll get very similar looks with each of these. This one has this kind of bronzier shade, which the C-3PO doesn't have. And it has this kind of dark shimmer shade, which the C-3PO doesn't have. And I mean, obviously this is gonna have more because it's a 12 pan. But anyway, this isn't a review of these palettes. So the look I did with this palette was in conjunction with this palette, and I can't remember which side was which. I'll pop up the picture of the eyeshadow look that I did, but one eye was the C-3PO and one eye was the Naked Honey one. So anyway, I will pop that picture up and I will link that video down below. And then I did a separate look with just this palette. And with between the two looks, I did use all the shades in this palette. So anyway, this is a cute little palette. I'm really happy to have it. I did get it for the packaging and I have no regrets. And I've been forgetting, so I forgot to mention that I used the Riviera one time, and I used the Nomad palette in November one time. I used the Venice Fling one time, and the C-3PO twice, and the Naked Honey one time. Okay, so coming in at number 7 is the ColourPop Harry Potter palette. I used this one 3 times. I did here's the palette. So this is kind of a big palette, so this is gonna be. I did a kind of a orangey coppery look, and I used like this shade and then these other shades here for one look, and I did another look where I kind of combined these shades with the yellowy tones, and then I did another look where I did just like a green look with, I think I did use this shimmer and this in the crease. This is a palette that I got for the packaging. If it wasn't for the packaging, I would not have bought this palette, but I had to because I love Harry Potter and I had to get this palette. But I'm not the biggest fan of this color story. I feel like I don't know really what I would have done differently. I think it's good that they included the neutrals and everything, but it still doesn't really scream, you know, like Gryffindor, Hufflepuff, Ravenclaw, and Slytherin, you know. It's like, I feel like the houses aren't, I mean, they all are represented, but I don't know. It's like, it's okay. I'm happy with it. I'm not like super disappointed with it. I think some of the shades are really pretty. Like, I do really like this shade, but I'm not disappointed in it. It's just okay to me as far as the color story goes. But the formula is great. Everything worked nicely. This green, I feel like it's kind of hard to formulate a good deep matte green. So it was slightly patchy. It did need to be built up a lot and required a little bit more work. But overall, it's a good palette. Um, it's basically kind of visually, I separate the two. Like, this is one palette, this is a different palette. But I mean, you don't have to do that, obviously. That's just how I kind of approach it visually. But I did really enjoy the looks that I did. I enjoyed playing with this palette, so that is why it is number 7. Number 6 is my Alva palette from Odin's Eye. And I used this palette once, and I used kind of this, I think I used this shade and these two shimmers and topped it with this shade. This is kind of like a Super Shock, like a ColourPop Super Shock formula, and I think it's really pretty. So I don't like this yellow matte in this palette. I've used it before and it was kind of awful and it made me think I didn't like this palette. But these other mattes are okay. They're not my favorite matte formula. The shimmer formula on this is really good though, in my opinion. But Odin's Eye has definitely improved their formula since this palette. I do really enjoy this palette though, so it's right in the middle. Coming in at number 5 is my Natasha Denona Sunrise palette. I used this palette twice. One look, I pretty much used like the whole bottom row. And then I can't really remember the other look. I think I used this shade on the lid, and I kind of did more of like the cranberry kind of look. But I really enjoy this palette for the fall time. And sorry, the glare is pretty bad. I really enjoy this palette for the fall time and kind of Thanksgiving time. I think it's a really great palette. I also really love it for the summertime. This matte formula isn't my favorite from Natasha Denona, but it's pretty good. I do really like the shimmer formula. I'm never really disappointed when I use this palette, so it's number 5. My lighting is starting to change, which is annoying. I'm going through this as fast as I can. But anyway, so what is this? Number 5? Wait, 12, 11, 10. Number 4 is my Star Wars ColourPop palette, and this is what this looks like. This is new to me. I missed it on their first launch, and so when I brought it back, I snagged it up pretty quickly. I used this palette, how many times did I use this palette? Twice. And both times that I used this palette, I was very impressed with the looks that I did. I don't remember the exact shades that I used. I know this is like a Super Shock formula, and I'll just put up the pictures, but I know I used this one in one of the shades, or in one of the looks I did, and this is such a pretty like Super Shock kind of formula, and it's very sparkly, and I was just very impressed with the formula on this and like the shade, and I feel like they just did a great job with the color story on this as well. So yeah, I'm really glad that I picked this palette up. I got it for the packaging, but I was very impressed with the quality of this and then the looks I did, so I'm really happy that I have this one. Okay, so I just had to shut my curtains because the lighting was not working out and the sun was going down, and I have a tree in my front yard and it was just messing things up. So I'm sorry if there was light bothering you, but anyway, curtains are shut now. Hopefully the lighting is okay. I just have 3 more palettes left. Okay, coming in at number 3 is my Sydney Grace and Mel Thompson Tiny Marvels palette. This one, I love the color story on this. The formula is fantastic. The only thing is I have to do a little bit extra work with the shimmer formula because for whatever reason it likes to just disappear on me. But if I double prime my eyelids, which I've talked about in previous videos, but I have to double prime my eyelids, and I use a Milani primer. I let that sit for a minute, then I go in with my Ulta matte primer, Ulta Beauty matte primer, and then I do my eyeshadow. I also use a NYX glitter primer with the shimmer shades. And doing all of that, it does make my eyeshadow last all day, but I have to just put in a little bit extra work for this palette, but it is well worth it. In my look that I did, I used this palette twice, and actually I'm wearing a couple of the shades today. Today I have this one. No, actually I just have one of this. I have this shade on today in my crease, and then another couple shadows from a different palette that's coming up. But for the look I did, in this picture, I did, well, oh, I did this in a get ready with me. I think it was this shade, and either this shade or this shade, like this shade in the crease, and this shade or this shade in the outer corner. I can't actually remember right now, but I did a get ready with me doing that look. So, and then I used the Scarab shade. This is just a gorgeous shade. It's so hard not to use this shade every time I dip into this palette. It's just such a pretty shade. And I use this shade and this shade in my eyebrows every day, or pretty much every day. So it's just a great palette. I love this palette. So this is number 3. If you know me very well, if you follow me on Instagram, if you've watched all my videos, these top 2 probably won't surprise you. Number 2 is my ABH and Jackie Aina palette. And the shade, I love the shimmers in this palette, the color story. I love this palette. But for the look I did, I think I did like these 2 kind of in the crease. I think I did a halo eye with these 2 and like kind of like the outer corners, and then this in the center of the lid, layered Dwalas. Sorry, I did wigglies in the center, layered Dwalas over that, and I think I put this shade in the inner corner. But I really liked this look, that look that I did. I know Hayleigh has talked about layering trust issues over wigglies, and that looks really pretty. I haven't tried that yet. I still need to try that, but I love this palette, and for a long time it was my favorite palette until it was beat out by my number 1 palette, which is in this list as well. This is a great palette. It's number 2. And number 1, I don't think anybody's surprised by, but it's my Odin's Eye and Angelic Nephis Hello palette. The look I did, so this is one I'm wearing today. I was inspired by Hayleigh. I feel like I've talked about Hayleigh a lot in this video, but I was inspired by Hayleigh to use with River. She was talking about it in her Pan Those Eyeshadows video, and all the ways she used River, so that's what's all over my eyelids. And I feel like it's a very pretty shade. Like, I love my eye look today, and I love every shade in this palette. So anyway, the look, so that's the look. I used this palette twice, and I'm wearing it today. And then the other look I did, I recreated a look that my friend Deb B did on Instagram. She does YouTube as well. I'll have her channel linked below. If you like project panning content at all, you will love Deb. She is hilarious. I love her bloopers so much. She just says the funniest things with a straight face. Like, she's really good at that. Is it deadpan humor? I don't know, but she just says the funniest things. I laugh in like pretty much all of her videos. But anyway, she did a look, and I recreated that. I think it was like these 2 pinks in the crease and outer corner, and then this on the lid, and then I think Hellfire was topped over the lid as well. Yeah, this was my number 1 palette for the month of November. So that was my eyeshadow palette usage recap for the month of November. Thank you so much for watching this video. I really appreciate you taking the time out of your day to watch this video. Please give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Please subscribe if you haven't subscribed, and I will see you in the next video.